Hey guys, I'm Poulin here from Party Time DJ Services. We got another active speaker review, or should I say a brand new active speaker purchase. That's right, Al went and bought a second pair of new active speakers for 2024. What a great year it's been so far. Business is good, but it was time for an upgrade. And it was time not necessarily because things weren't working well, just because Al wanted to try some new things. I've been using Yamaha's DXR8s, DXR15s on top of my DXS subs for a little over 12 years now, believe it or not, and they've been rock solid, bulletproof, zero complaints about them. However, variety is the spice of life, right? And I started out with Yorkville about 34 years ago is when I started DJing, and Yorkvilles were what I started DJing with. I had two sets of Yorkville Pulse 153s, which were basically a 15-inch 1-inch compression driver with a Lason tweeter, so it's kind of like a quasi three-way speaker, but they are great for the time. We also use Pulse 253s. Then I moved into the Elite Microns over subs, and I tried so much stuff from Yorkville, a lot of the NX stuff as well, the original NX 25s or NX 55Ps, and a lot of Yorkville stuff, even the powered subs. I say, you know what? I've been using Yamaha for almost 12 years, but Yorkville is a Canadian company, and I would love to have a beautiful sounding set of Canadian-made, Canadian-produced speakers in my collection. So thank you to Darren and also Mike over at Yorkville, to whom I've asked so many questions, and they've always given me the details that I asked for regarding the speaker transducers, build quality, how they're tested, stuff like that. So I think that's important in your purchase, because if you look at simply the price tag, they do retail at $19.99 a piece. So that's roughly $4,500 taxes in for a set of active 12s. Now you can get a lot of stuff cheaper. In fact, I just purchased some Air 12s from Presonus a few weeks ago. They were less than half the price. But why would you want to spend $2,000 per speaker on active speakers? That's because you want the best of the best. You want something that's going to be head and shoulders above what every other DJ is using, above every other DJ that's using the Mackie Thumps or the Altos or the, all that garbage, that cheap Chinese garbage. You want something Canadian made. You want something solid. These are made of birch plywood and covered by protective plastic polyurethane, kind of, I forget the exact name. But the build quality on these, you can feel it. They are 59 pounds a piece, which some people say, oh, well, that's way too heavy. But if you're a man, and if you want the best of the best, be ready to lift and move the best of the best. And if they're heavy, it's because they're well designed. It's because they are made of Baltic birch. It's because they don't have cheap parts inside. Now, although they are 59 pounds, the transducers in there are absolutely top quality, and they are actually lightweight. They are neodymium units, and that's another thing that contributes to the higher price. Top of the line transducers in there by Eminence. You have a 12-inch woofer. It's actually a 900 watt program capacity woofer with 3-inch voice coil. So while these are powered at a continuous 1200 watts, the transducers in there can actually handle it. It's not make-believe wattage. There's actually 1200 watts of power powering these transducers, 900 watt program woofer, and a 3-inch Eminence compression driver. And these are 100 watts RMS, which means that they'll handle up to 300 watts in the program or in the peak. But they have that capacity. This is not Mickey Mouse transducers in here. These are actually, there is a video on YouTube, just put in EF-12P, and there's a video, I think it's some technician or something. There's no words. There's a little jazz music, and he's actually filming the inside of this speaker. And you can see the size of the compression driver. It's as big as the magnet on the woofer, although these are neodymium transducers. The magnet size doesn't really matter all that much. But if you look at just the size and the beef of these components, you'll know that you're dealing with top-notch speakers, and that's why you'll get that top-notch performance. And that 3-inch compression driver, that's something you will rarely ever see in an MI-oriented product. Some of the only exceptions would be from RCF, which do produce 2-inch, 3-inch, and 4-inch compression drivers in their speakers. And why would you want a bigger compression driver? The easy answer is if you want the best in vocal clarity, if you want vocal clarity that actually will cut through, that will send those vocals as far as possible. And that's one thing I noticed when I compared the EF-12Ps to my RCF 312 waves, which I absolutely love and which we've been using for karaoke for like 6 years. But when I compared them to these guys, used at very high levels, the RCF was hard on the ears because there was distortion in the sound. Even though they weren't limiting yet, they were close to limit, but they were kind of painful to be in front of. While the Yorkville, producing the same SPL levels, were not hard on the ears at all. It was just clear, loud and clear, but I could distinctly hear some distortion in the RCS, which I'd never noticed before until I compared them to these guys. And that's because the RCFs have a 1.4 or 1.5 inch voice coil compression driver crossed over at a somewhat higher crossover point. These guys are crossed over at 1.1K, so 1100 hertz and up, which means that a lot more of those vocals are going to be coming through your horn instead of going through the woofer, which is the case for a lot of speakers that don't have such a big compression driver so they can't go as low in frequency. But having that big compression driver, this beautiful 3-inch compression driver, gives you some bragging rights as well, because you can finally tell your DJ friends, you know, mine is bigger than yours, and you're actually speaking facts here. You will have trouble finding anything that compares to the sound quality and clarity coming out of this Eminence 3-inch voice coil compression driver. Vocals are beautiful. I've tested them with country music, rock, hip hop, the top 40 stuff. They do wonderfully on everything. And you'll notice the difference right away if you compare them to other competitive speakers. So I already did a video on these about 6 years ago when they first came out. And I did have a few criticisms, and a lot of them have actually been addressed by Yorkville. So thank you, Yorkville, for that. The mixer section, I do cover it a bit more in detail in my initial video, but basically it's a standard mixer setup line mic in. And instead of the original dual RCA in, now they have a 1/8-inch, so you can just plug in an MP3 player or whatever you need in there. Main in, you do have Bluetooth, but the Bluetooth is not for music streaming. It is for an app to be used if you want to control some of the speaker parameters, so that's available for download. But yeah, no Bluetooth as such. There's a sub filter if using, or high pass filter if using the tops with the subs. 4 different sound modes: club, concert, vocal, user. You can feel free to play around with those. My favorites were the club and the user. The user, quite simply because I like to do my own EQing, because every different hall has different acoustics, and some are more live and some will absorb the top end a bit more, so you always have to play around with your EQ anyway. So I like just the white user mode. The club is great for at lower volumes if you're playing background music. Say if you're DJing it's during the supper, just playing some light background jazz and you want a nice full sound, that'll really get those nice fat bass notes out there. I use the club mode in my studio here when I'm just doing personal music listening, and it is excellent. In my initial review, I did say it is dark. It is dark. I do agree, but that's why we have EQs. I just have a 3-band EQ. This is just a Mackie Pro FX 8 here, but like on the Yorkville PGM8, I just dialed down they have the high, mid, and low. The low knob, it's usually centered around 80 hertz. I dial that back maybe 3 to 6 dBs. Probably 3 should be okay. But I like to boost the top end because I do find it are a little dark out of the box. And that compression driver, while amazing on vocals, it is definitely capable of some sweet, crisp highs as well, which I hadn't played with them enough in my initial review, but they do produce very beautiful, crisp highs, and they have the power to really bring out that mid and high out of the speaker. So play with your EQ. I'll boost the 12K knob anywhere from +3 to +6, depending on the hall. So light reduction on the bass, nice little boost on the top end, and these are beautiful, crystal clear, beautiful vocal clarity, and the bass is there, especially in club mode. When DJing, I used them for a small wedding last weekend. They did phenomenally. I had started with the club mode and I decided to deactivate it because I noticed that while like doing speeches on your mics, that bass boost seemed to affect the sound quality of the microphones. It was a little too much bass, so I just put them at the white setting and I EQ'd from my mixer. And I actually did that throughout the whole night, because at higher volumes, that bass boost is beautiful at lower volumes, but at high volumes, you're going to end up with the woofer just always doing the at its maximum, and the multi-band EQing working overtime to keep the sound clean. So I think by keeping it at the user setting and just EQing from your mixer will be best in high output situations anyway. But because you have those 4 sound modes, explore with them and see what works best for you. Output wise, they did awesome at the wedding. No issues at all. One thing I would like to thank Yorkville for fixing is the limit light. That was one of my first initial criticism, and the way that the limit light worked initially is as soon as the processing was doing anything, it is a multi-band processor, so it's just not bass and top end. It will actually play with the different frequencies and reduce where it needs to reduce to make sure that you always have maximum sound quality and maximum output levels at all time. If you're setting a lot of kick drum in there, it's not going to affect your vocals. So the limiter will just affect the offending frequencies, and your highs and mids will still be crystal clear. So that's the advantage of having a multi-band limiting in there, and that's one very good selling point. But now that limit light strictly lights up when the speaker is really at the maximum of what it can do with the multi-band limiting. If that light is flashing, dial it down just a tad. It means that you're at the limits of what the speaker can do and is working overtime just to protect the transducers and keep everything sounding sweet. It was like an 80-person wedding in a hall that contained 140 people. It was loud in there. The crowd was loud. They had been drinking even before getting there, I think, but they were loud. So I played these things pretty much full volume all night. And that's what my friend Darren at Yorkville told me. He said, Al, enjoy these speakers, crank them up, no worries. And that's because of Yorkville's, even if you break it, 2-year warranty, which is actually extendable through Long McQuade. And that's why I buy through Long McQuade. We have one here in Sudbury. They are excellent to deal with. And even after that 2 years, you can actually add on years of performance warranty, they call. I think it's 4% of the purchase price of the speaker, but it covers for anything. So, which I will keep buying as long as I can, that warranty from Long McQuade, just for the peace of mind that I don't have to worry about too much about where I set my volume level. If it sounds good, even though the speakers are working hard, I don't have to worry about warranty issues. Long McQuade will take care of me. And right now, actually, this Saturday, I think, is Canada Day special, or Canada. If you go to Long McQuade, you get 0% financing for 12 months, I believe on all Canadian-made products. So it would include these guys. So, Jesus, if you want to invest in something of high quality, my wife actually convinced me to buy these, and that's a rare occurrence. After she'd heard the YXLs, and I had used the EF-12Ps the weekend before, she told me the speakers you had last week were much better. For her to say that just told me, and to give me the green light to buy them. That just said, you know what, Al, don't waste your time, invest, and next year you can claim it as a business expense. But if you want top of the line, best of the best, I'm almost 50, and I told myself, while I can still move these and put them up on a stand, now is the time to invest in these beautiful, beautiful speakers. They are actually very compact. While they do weigh 59 pounds, that's just because of the Baltic birch construction. But well built, beautiful, beautiful quality. Everything on these feels solid. You have a nice Elite logo on the side of them. You can actually see more details in my initial video. But they fixed the limit issue. Now, it only really lights when you are at the limit of what the speaker can do without starting to sound bad. And other than that, the sound modes were by other criticism, but that's just like anything else. I thought that the club mode was a bit too bassy, which I still do. That's why I dial it down a little bit, and I like to increase the highs because I like a nice, crisp, sweet sound. But geez, guys, rent a set of these. If you are a man and you can still move them, I highly recommend it. It's like the Lamborghini of MI speakers, because the performance, don't even look at the specs, because the SPL specs are a little bit lower on these than you'll find on other speakers. I don't care. Even wattage, you'll find speakers claiming 2,000 watts, this, 134 decibels, this. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Don't look at even the maximum SPL specs are so exaggerated these days, and they're measured for a millisecond with a certain frequency before the speaker self-destructs with the limiters off. So don't worry about SPL specs. The price you're paying for these, you're getting a top quality product, and they perform spectacularly. I cannot recommend a speaker higher than these if you're looking for the best of the best, as I've said. So anyway, that's been a quick review. You can check out my initial review as well. Although now that I've had a chance to play with them a lot more and use them on a really rowdy gig, I am aware of their performance capabilities. Now that that limit light is not telling me to turn down, I like go for it. Rent them, try them, buy them, run them loud up until the limit, and you'll see what they can do. But use a high quality source, and those vocals will shine, and that output will impress. And that low frequency down to 47 hertz, that's minus or plus 3 dBs, is surprising. And the fact that it's in a fairly thick wood cabinet makes them sound even that much better, in my opinion. They're just fantastic sounding. I can't recommend them enough. So go check them out. Yorkville EF-12P, 1200 watts of continuous power, 2 top quality 12-inch woofer, 3-inch voice coil, and 3-inch compression driver. Go test them out. Let me know what you think. Have a great day. This has been Poulin from Party Time DJ Services.